The Su-22UM Fitter, and this is care of Charlie Gao from National Interest.org. The Sukhoi Su-22 NATO codename Fitter is a fighter bomber developed in the Soviet Union. It is an improved version of the Su-17, which was first commissioned as a production model in 1966. The Su-22 was intended to be a direct successor to the Su-20 and thus mainly as an export aircraft, but was also used by the air forces of the former Soviet states. The Su-22 is mainly designed for high-speed flight at near ground level. Like most fighter bombers, it is only of limited suitability for air-to-air combat, as it has a laser range and target illumination system CLEN 54 for ground targets in the nose instead of a radar to detect air targets. Other improvements included location control and target acquisition electronics. In addition, the Su-22 was equipped with systems for disrupting enemy targeting and locating. Installation of extended sensor equipment for reconnaissance operations is possible. The Su-17 saw significant service in the Soviet war in Afghanistan and served in many roles during that conflict, including reconnaissance strike and mine laying. Combat experience in this conflict led to the fitting of chaff and flare dispensers and additional armor to the aircraft. Su-17s left Russian service alongside the MiG-23BN and MiG-27 counterparts during defense reforms during the 1990s and 2000s. A single engine aircraft were not considered survivable enough for air-to-ground combat. In the role of as a close air support aircraft, the double-engined Squad Su-25 replaced it. In the role of faster strike aircraft, the Su-34 replaced the Su-17-22. As a member state of the Warsaw Pact, Poland received a total of 110 Su-22 aircraft. The Polish Air Force is the last European user. A modernization program has been running since February 2015 to enable the fleet to operate for about another 10 years. Greetings all, this is the unboxing vid for the Italeri 172nd Sukhoi Su22UM. Now, I should explain, this is going to be my next build. Good few years ago, I built the single seat version in Polish markings, and as one of my intentions is to build every single two-seat and single-seat version of every major Russian post-war type. This is very much the follow-on build from this one. So this is the unboxing of the two-seat version of this single-seat aircraft. So, what do we get in our box? Set instructions to one side for a minute. So, nice dark grey sprues, recessed panel lines, relatively straightforward swing wing mechanism. My experience with the previous one is that it's probably easier to have the wings moving independently and not trying to get them to move together, which, let's face it, you're not playing with this, so it doesn't really make much difference. Personally, I like to display wings fully swept forward. It's up to you how you display it. So, good detail, nice plastic texture, tiny bit of flash there, but that's minuscule compared to many other kits. No concerns there. Other additional detailed parts, what you have here is undercarriage and part of the assortment of this aircraft's very, very extensive ordnance. So these sprues are the wings and tail surfaces and undercarriage doors. This is some of the radar housing, in the nose, jet pipe, undercarriage, some of the additional external details, drop tanks, wheel well. And this sprue is very much more for this two seats. You've got the main fuselage halves. Again, if you can see, no issues there about level detail. Maybe a little bit soft in places. Possibly that. So showing signs of mold wear, that the certainly on this side of the fuselage, the panel line detail could do with a little bit of rescribing, but really not that much. So maybe a tad on the soft side. A lot of the sprue is taken up with the external ordnance. That middle piece there is to get the wings to move together. The two-seat fuselage halves. The two-seat cockpit tub. Plenty of stuff to dangle off it. For this particular one, the all-important recce pod, which is what I'm going to be building it with. The ECM pods. Going to be a lot of unused ordnance left on this one, an awful lot. Which is fair enough. I didn't build it. I do want to build it just in the recce version. So the other bits and pieces now. The basic kit decals are for Russian and Hungarian, and you can't really fault these. I mean, they're not as good as the more recent Italeri sheets, which are an absolute joy to see. Are nicely printed by Cartograph, have a ton load of stencils and a beautiful quality, and give you numerous marking options. These are quite basic, so you've got Hungarian and you've got Russian. If I'm going to use these decals, it's going to be for the Russian one. I've dug out of my stash a load of Polish decals. Whether I use them or not, or find one where particularly the font size of the letters is correct, is another matter, and if this registration is correct as well. So we'll see about that. If I can find a Su-22UM with a specific indicate ID number, fair enough. If I don't, I'll just probably do it in the Russian scheme. The canopy glazing, nicely defined. You can see that the rear seat has the side windows and rather limited view. There's the hatch for his little periscope, so you can see during landing. Front seat is pretty much the same as the single-seater one. Reasonable definition on it, so it'll do well with the masking tape and burnishing method. HUD display, which is a nice touch there, and I'm assuming that's the aft HUD display, and landing lights. So again, simple, straightforward. Can't see that creating any problems. Fit wasn't a particularly major issue with the previous one. So take a look at the instructions. Fairly typical Italeri fare. Fold out sheet. Parts guide. Then, as always, build starts with the cockpit. Nice multi-part ejector seat. Needs straps and handles, main elements to add to it. Worthwhile checking the references for how the on its mechanism, where you should put, if you do put in wire handles, where you should put them. Basic instrument panels. Didn't see decals for them, so it's going to be a simple paint up job. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I'll have to take a look at that again. Reference photos, reference throughout. Construction begins with the wing. Well, construction follows on with the wings to get the swing wing mechanism together. They slot in. There's that central section that we mentioned. So nothing that's going to present too many issues. We'll definitely need reasonable bit of nose weight, but there's plenty of room within this fuselage to accommodate that. Undercarriage nice and chunky. What I did have an issue with previously was this detail here on how the wheels, on how the undercarriage portions slide interact, because you've got to cut that lot up and reposition them. That is a bit ambiguous, and it's the same as it was on the single seater, so I remember that creating issues. On 1/48 scale aircraft I can't see that being a problem, but certainly on this 1/72 scale aircraft there's a lot of uncertainty on that, which I didn't much like. Then a lot of this aircraft is what's on the exterior. You've got plenty of pylons to put on. An awful lot of pylons actually. These things could carry a fair amount. You've got location of the external chaff and flare dispensers. Options, of course, to display the canopy open and closed. And then plenty of dangly stuff to put underneath. So I'm going to be using the recce pod, drop tanks, ECM pods, ECM pods, recce pod, the other ECM pod, and I was going to be in that fit. Maybe a couple of heat seekers for self-defense, but that's really going to be it. Still is going to be quite busy on the underside, and it's an aircraft that does look nice fully loaded. It's sort of, there's a lot going on here. You can dangle a lot off this. You've got plenty of room and plenty of options to do so. And it looks good for it, I think. It's quite a beefy looking airjet in its own right. Then the marking options for Russian and Hungarian Air Force. From previous experience with Italeri kits, their Su-25, I'm not anticipating on the single seat version of this. I'm not anticipating this creating any major headaches or issues. I think it's a kit whose molds they share with Bilek. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the way it's going to go together, and it should present a fairly standard build. The main challenge, I think, with this is, on aircraft like this, is to do a decent job of the camo scheme, and I'm probably going to end up using Vallejo for these, because there's small quantities of a number of different colors, and it's just going to lend itself to, you know, a few drops in the dropper bottle, mask up and apply the next coat, and then seal up with Johnson's Clear once the decals are on and the weathering's done, and then top it all off with a Tamiya matte coat. So definitely one for painting it with Vallejo. I mean, the Red Star one will be nice. I like the big bolt numbers. The wavy line isn't too pronounced. It's quite pleasant, and it should be fun. I don't like black and white schemes like this printed, but you know, fair enough. It isn't the youngest of kits, but it still, I think, in my mind, looks like a fairly competent one. So I think this is an aircraft that there's probably quite a few other builds of it out on YouTube. And I think the build vid for this is really going to be marking it as it's going to be my first build of 2021. I'm going to be cracking on with this fairly soon. I'll class it as a 2021 build.